I may as well just talk about this being what's probably the most popular hot button topic right now in the gaming industry, and that's if loot boxes and random generated rewards constitute as gambling or some like new age form of gambling. And there's been a lot of debate around the new Star Wars Battlefront game that has come out, and whether or not what was going on in that game was some kind of gambling. And then also there was this like huge collection of people that organized and sort of got together and downvoted, like gave bad reviews for the game, and sort of started to affect the stock, and people started to get into these interesting ethical arguments about, what kind of power do we have on the internet. And I think, I've said this a lot before in different ways to some of my friends in different discussions, but I think this is just kind of like growing pains right now. This is like growing pains. This is like growing pains for the internet in terms of how does the internet in its new forms interface with society. Because I'm sure a bunch of senators and lawmakers and legislators didn't ever consider that the video games that their little nephews and nieces were playing would be ever considered in the same vein as different casinos that they may be visiting. But I actually think there's a legitimate argument that can be made that loot boxes and things like that are in fact some type of new age gambling. I think it does entice the same parts of the brain. I think it presents the same dangers and presents some of the same issues that you get with actual gambling. And I think what's worse about it is the fact that it is, a lot of the times we're dealing with kids, and we're dealing with people that don't really understand, themselves in the same way that adults do. And we still see adults badly addicted to stuff like this. So why wouldn't kids, I don't see any good reason why kids wouldn't be at risk in some way. So I think legislators taking a look at it, it's the same way. It's the same exact way as legislators have taken a look at casino gaming. In fact, gaming companies like casino gaming companies are like, they use the word gaming. They use the word gaming because we're talking about games for a random, that utilize chance for gifts and rewards and things like that. This, we found out with human beings, is actually very dangerous stuff. We're not really the best at managing all of that. You know what I mean? Oh fuck. I'm gonna go back up. Okay, let me get going here. I'm supposed to be exterminating. Okay. So yeah, and honestly, I don't want to be like, I don't want to support the drama and all of that, but I'm not a big fan of EA, and I like that people are organizing against them to show that they're not happy with some of their business practices. Now, there's lots of people that are getting very, there's people that are really debating on whether or not it's okay to organize on Reddit and downvote a bunch of things in Brigade and things like that. But I think it's great that people are figuring out ways to organize and have their voices be heard. And I agree. Like I'm getting sick of some of the shit that we're seeing now. And again, this is a big thing about gaming, and this is a big thing about gaming in the corporate era as well, because games have figured out how to make lots of money. So games are in a situation where lots of creative decisions are being made in the boardroom, and that's just something that a lot of gamers can't seem to wrap their brains around, is that lots of decisions are being made in the boardroom. Like, these decisions are not being made in the studio, and like lots of executive decisions come down from on high. You know what I mean? From the bosses and all that. So I said all of this to say, it's really just all about figuring out ways to make money, and this is one way that seems to be pretty effective. So I'm not surprised to see companies utilizing that, and at the same time, I'm not really surprised to see gamers reacting to it. And we're gonna have to find a happy medium, as an industry, as consumers, and as companies. We're gonna have to figure out what's gonna work for everybody, because we all still want to make games. I mean, we all still want to play games, and I guess they all still want to make games. They all still want to be able to make money, and we're willing to pay money for these games. But I think there has to be some kind of happy medium between something that's just artistic and enjoyable and complete, but then also something that makes money for the company. That's a big deal, and I don't want to act like that's not a big deal. Like, I don't want to act like that's not something that matters, because I understand that as an adult, but at the same time, as an artist myself, as someone who creates things, I understand that there's a certain level of integrity when it comes to the creation of something, and there's a such thing as selling out too. And I think in gaming, no one can really decide or not if it's art. Is it art, or is it like some kind of, I don't know what the other word would be. Is it like EA? EA is like the General Motors, or like the Ford of video games. It's all about mass production. It's all about industry. It's like the industrial. It's industrial gaming at its finest, really. So I'm not really surprised to see them making business decisions the way that they do. I think maybe us as gamers need to understand, like, maybe we should be looking for creativity elsewhere. Maybe we should be more aware of just who it is that we're dealing with when we're buying games. So, those are my thoughts. Check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Zilla the God. For the most part, it's Zilla the God, Zilla. Hyprevo, HYPREVO. Check us out .com. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.